About the author. Rath W. Acing is a pseudonym, an anagram created to remove celebrity from the author and place the focus on the central message of these adventures and other books contemplated. The E is silent. So is the warrior. But the vigilance, while silent, is real. The author can be identified as a part of these novellas, a character, either unique or composite, that moves through these military thrillers. As the publishing editor and an advocate of these adventures, I requested more background, but the dark stare ended my inquiry. Anonymity is an asset to those who walk the dark side of our world. It is a double-edged sword, taking away the rights of the individual for full disclosure, but providing shelter for the bearer of the burden of our protection. In my last conversation with the author, he indicated his prayer was that someday dark soldiers would not be necessary. On this and the underlying message of these stories, I place my credence of the author's good character. William Joyce, Project Advocate. Enough. Synopsis. Enough is a military thriller delving into the dark areas of the soldier's conscience. Set in the Texas and North Mexico deserts, the action explodes as the characters deal with their understanding of revenge. Enough is the story of a lifer sergeant whose family is brutally killed by a Mexican drug cartel in the U.S. national forests. The pain of loss moves the soldier to go beyond all he has fought for and seek revenge. He gathers others to his cause, and they too must deal with going beyond their calling. We live in a world locked in constant struggle. Rules of war are built to keep chaos from erupting. What happens when the evil spreading in the world causes a soldier trained to protect to reach the breaking point? Enough is the story of a warrior's pain and the challenges of conscience when horrific things happen. Chapter 1. Tears. The slow procession from the hearses to the small painted church under the pecan trees held all in silence. The shuffle of feet on the worn tile floors and the creaking of pews beat out the rhythm of the last march of the Benning family. He stood in at the back, not venturing into the church of his boyhood, out of respect, not fear. He looked at the last of the family he had known, lined up in dark pine boxes down the center aisle of the church filled with mourners. One by one, the 5 caskets were carried by pallbearers out the side of St. Mary's Catholic Church to the waiting graves. Alice and Charles had taken their 3 children on the adventure of a lifetime, an 8-week spring vacation to the national parks in Wyoming. On the trails of Yellowstone, they were beaten, raped, defiled, and left as carrion for the wild beasts. Mary, Jeff, and Courtney Benning's mangled bodies held the vestiges of fear and torment they had suffered. The boy had been found still half tied to a tree amidst the stones used to bludgeon him to death. The 2 girls and the mother had suffered a fate much worse. The father's shocked expression had frozen to his face the moment the bullet struck his temple. The mother's look of anguish was beyond all the soldier could stomach, and he retched when he saw the strawberry hair of the little one matted with blood and dirt. The identification required by law festered in his mind. The cool respite of the ancient church with its scenes of miracles and love could not remove the darkness growing within his mind. A witness hiding among bushes on a hill above the trail had described Juan Macias, a known drug trafficker on the Homeland Security watch list. No arrests had been made, and while the world continued to spin, a soldier stood ramrod straight at the foot of the grave of the littlest Benning. The drizzle and the darkening sky blunted the scene from the highway as the last of the cars pulled out into the night. He remembered the strawberry-haired tot always getting into all kinds of trouble, just too cute to reprimand. He remembered her giggle and her plea for one more story. He remembered the one place he had felt at home since the day he had left for the service. Standing above the graves through the night, he remembered, and he wept. Sarge, the only name he had used for more than 30 years, stood watch that night and the next day. Finally, as the sun set again, he slowly saluted the place where Courtney lay and turned toward the west. He would not let the hill country of Texas hold the graves of loved ones. There they would rest, but he would not. A hatred he had never felt before welled up in his very soul. Not a tool used by soldiers in battle, not a force of nature to be explained away by shrinks, but a powerful instinct to abandon his humanity and seek out revenge. He had had enough.